Hey everybody, it's Michelle Burton, Mrs. Burton, or as the kids call me, Burton. Um, I chose to do today for a staff reflection for Flame of the Phoenix a little bit about how I helped the kids and encouraged them, and we decided to do some grant writing for our travel passport science seminar for third quarter. So, travel and science and learning and being a lifelong learner is a passion of mine, as you can see over my hood is a poster I got from Half Dome Yosemite out in California. And you can see a student made Mrs. Burton behind me and some bookends made out of natural materials, agate and things like that. And then the Moses Ortiz on my bookshelf over there. So all of these things in my house and in my classroom, travel and science and being a lifelong learner is a passion of mine. So I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to create a seminar for third quarter. It's called Travel Passport Seminar, and the kids are choosing to pick a place. I encourage them to think about state parks, local parks, national parks, but also if they have family land and things like that in a specific place they like to visit, to learn about it and to create a information and a virtual trip, so to speak, and hopefully they get to go, whether it's over spring break or when this COVID thing is locked down and we're not in lockdown as much, or next summer or sometime in their life. I remember writing a paper in fifth grade about Crater Lake, and I was inspired. I didn't get to go till I was in my 30s, but I made it, so it was on my bucket list. Ms. O and I tend to talk about national parks a lot. We kind of have an informal competition going on. So, knowing that, Mr. Gels, our principal, Greg, sent an email middle of January, about the 20th or something, and it was about National Park Trust for kids to Park Day. And he knew that that would be right in the wheelhouse for project-based learning for our Dotke High School. And he sent it to Ms. O and I said, hey, that sounds like something awesome for Travel Passport. I have a little grant writing experience. I wrote grants this year and last year for my church and things to get money for Dotke, for our PBIS and prizes and things for kids to catch them doing well. As you know, our kids, we want them to have fun, learn stuff, and make cool things. So I suggested the kids, we did some brainstorming and thought about which parks they're interested in, which places they wanted to go, and they did some research. And then every day I have a warm-up question on my Schoology account, and then it leads to thinking about why should we study national parks or parks in general, or green space or environment around us. Why should we learn about the plants, the animals, the weather, the astronomy, the stars that you can see. So all of us, including my students, have picked a place, and we're a week and a half left of the quarter, and we spent 2 weeks during February doing grant writing. And I explained to the kids, we may not win, but knowing how to write grants is a skill. We'll use our English skills, we'll do our writing skills, all of that stuff. And so they could win up to $500. And I'm so proud to say the kids and I won by doing our grant. We were one of 56 schools to represent 14 states, to represent, I think it was over 2,200 kids, and they sponsored us for the $500. So I found out on Friday, 4 days ago, and I got to tell the kids Friday and this week. And then I did some shopping. Went to Menards, spent some of my time, started collecting some of the things. So part of the process with the kids was we had to fill out, after we knew about the application, we had to I previewed the application, but then explained to the kids what we needed, help with looking about our address, talking about which national parks we may be interested. So they all kind of did some brainstorming, and some of the things the kids are researching are the Tennessee side of the Smoky Mountains, the Ozarks, Zion. One of our students is doing the St. Croix Scenic Riverway up in northern Wisconsin because his family has land there. And so our National Parks, our Passport Science Seminar, they're doing individual travel portfolios and researching on this national park theme, so it fit right into this grant. Then we discussed weathering and erosion in class and what's the difference between weathering and erosion. And then I showed them some options. We brainstormed some more, and we came up with a project by looking at some things that a college professor had put online. Last year I'd consider buying some stream tables to help, and they were really expensive for just plastic. And I am also a former environmental engineer. I have a geology degree, and so I did environmental engineering for 12 years before becoming a teacher, and I love our project-based learning. So the kids and I looked at some things, did some research online, but we are going to make a system similar to this, in which we pump water through, and then you create what's called a stream table, which shows the water and how it meanders, and then eventually I'm hoping the kids will use the 3D printer and maybe make a farm or make something, and we can talk about runoff and those kinds of things. But we're hoping then to have the students, they help fill out the parts of the application process and did some participation. I asked them to reflect on how would we use the stream table, what are some of the interesting facts about your park. And Nate said, I'm excited to learn more about Lake of the Ozarks. When the sand went through the sand, it was sort of like Lake of the Ozarks. So he made a deeper learning connection. And he talked about how the Ozarks consist of canyons and mountains and ridges and valleys. Loretta talked about how she was excited to learn about her park. She's decided to do Big Bend in Texas. Mitch is doing the one in Tennessee with the Smoky Mountains. Pedro is doing the Grand Canyon, which then also we were able to use VR to take some virtual trips and look at some of these places, even though we don't physically get to go there right now. But we got some equipment at school in which you can add a smartphone to and open it up and do the VR and make a connection and see it in 3D and learn some things. So hopefully maybe even next quarter I might have kids doing their own types of VR things. Pedro, we also reflected on how could we take this outside of our walls, because in Datke we think bigger picture. How can we improve the world? So they discussed, and Pedro talked about learning about the Grand Canyon, but that we should teach 5th or 6th graders about weathering and erosion, because we can then give them a hands-on experience. So our class is going to design, build, or came up with a design based on other information online. We've designed it. We are going to build it the last week of the quarter, which starts in 3 days, thus the quick shopping trip. And then 4th quarter, they are going to take it into some of our other schools. One of the other questions on the application was, how will this help you be a good steward of the earth? And so Mitch talked about how it would benefit us learning about parks and air quality and plants and animals, because the parks will stay for generations and it will provide clean air. Pedro talked about how the water will interact with the soil. Justin said we should be chosen because as a PBL school, we can build and create cool stream table boxes and bases so we can build and share with other schools and students in our district. Pedro also talked about we wanted to teach them how this is a visual way and how the landscape works. So anyway, that's some of the quotes and things that were used that the kids did with this warm-up and things like that. And then we decided to do some research about creating this recirculating stream table. And then the students came up with a parts list. So you can see Kylie and Justin did a lot of the legwork in finding what we needed. So I had a shopping list today. And then Mitch and Loretta took leadership on coming up with the steps. They called it to build or not to build, directions on how to make a small teachable stream table. So they came up with many steps. And then Nate was the lead on this and others helped out, but I had them make a lesson plan with help from me and guidance. because they're going to be docents when we go into another school, probably an intermediate school. And then talked about what we want to teach them, weathering and erosion. What are the kids going to learn? How would this be a deeper learning experience? And explain, hey, this is the stream table, box table we built, and this is what you learn from it. And so we're excited. So personally, I'm getting to go to my place next week, Friday, after school. We're leaving at 8 or 9 at night. And we're headed to a national park, and we're going to do a lot of the state of New Mexico. But I'm so proud of the kids for winning this grant, going through this experience. I remember Nate saying, this is hard. What do you want me to do next, Burton? So that week, about 3 weeks ago, or maybe 4 now, I put him up for Student of the Week, and he won because of his leadership and that. So kids have just stepped up. It's exciting. Talking to Mr. Gels yesterday and explaining our plan and going to buy stuff today. And kids are going to be back on Monday, so we'll all get to work as one group instead of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday groups. So thank you for listening. And I'm sure there will be a follow-up because I'm going to take video of the kids doing all this, and then there'll be docents in another school, probably fourth quarter. So more to come. But thank you for listening and have a good day. Flame of the Phoenix. Yeah.